Hi, and welcome to How to Bioinformatics. If you're just getting started and you want to know how to install Python 3 and dual install Python 2.7, which is super useful because a lot of libraries still use 2.7, then you're going to want to watch this video on how to install it the right way the first time. Alright, let's get started.
Alright, we're going to learn how to install Python 3 through Homebrew on OS X, a fresh installation of OS X. You can see this is 10.8, which is Mountain Lion. So the first thing that you should do is install Xcode. I've already done that so that we don't have to sit through it. You can see that I have Xcode here. If you don't know how to install Xcode, you can go to the App Store, which you're stuck with if you have OS X. Or not, there we go, and search for it. Come on. Really shouldn't take you that long. Alright, well, assuming that worked, let's try that again. App Store, search for, oh, is my internet not working? Xcode. Okay, well that's useless. So we're assuming that that worked, and you have Xcode installed. The next thing that you want to do is start Xcode, and when Xcode starts for the first time, it's going to make you agree to their license, and it will probably install a package. Once it has done that, it will be on this screen. We're going to go to the Preferences, and we're going to click on the Downloads tab, and you need to install the command line tools, which are, for me, already installed because I did that beforehand. It's about 170 megs. Shouldn't take too long to do. Once we're done with that, Xcode is done. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do is install Homebrew, which is our package manager, which is an extremely handy thing to have on a computer. And it's semi-irritating that OS X doesn't come with one. Or perhaps it's a good thing, because the one for Linux is god-awful. You can see I've searched for this before. This is a fairly fresh copy. It just has a screen recording program and Xcode installed on it. Otherwise, I just fresh installed earlier today. Alright, so we have Homebrew here in their GitHub stuff. And we can scroll down to the bottom and how to install it in giant letters. We can copy this, and it says helpfully to paste that at a terminal prompt. Alright, so I copied it. Let's close this. And if you don't know how to open a terminal prompt, you can either go to the Launchpad into Other by default, and it's right here, or you can go up to the Spotlight and type Terminal. It'll pop up. You can hit Enter. Or where it's actually located on your computer is in the Applications folder, and down in the Utilities, and then down here. So let's get Terminal open, and let's make it bigger. I don't know how big to make it. Alright, so now that should be visible. Let's paste in our command that we need to install Homebrew from, and let's let that go. So it's telling us what it's going to install. Let's agree blindly to every agreement that crosses our paths, and it will now begin downloading and installing Homebrew. I have quite literally never seen an installation of this fail before, so I don't think there's much to talk about in terms of if it fails. There are things that you need to do once you've set it up that sort of hinder its ability to install things properly for you, but we'll talk about those once we start installing Python, because that takes a little while. You can see now that the installation has been successful, and that we should run Brew Doctor before we install anything with it. So let's do just that. And it's gonna, as you can see, it's doing stuff here. in the background, and my system is ready to brew. That's pretty uncommon that it will just work like that. This is a fresh installation of OS X, and I've actually had it throw lots of errors before with a fresh installation of OS X, so I'm not sure what makes this one so special. Things that can go wrong are not having the newest Xcode, not having launched Xcode and agreed to their license, not having gone into Xcode and installed their utilities. So I'd highly suggest you do all that stuff first before you get started, because it relies on those to work. And there are various other things. If you have a partition on your drive, it will actually find Xcode installed on the other partition and mess a bunch of stuff up. There's many things that can go wrong here, and we'll talk about those as we install Python. So the first thing we're going to do with Brew is search for Python. Look at that, they have Python, which will be the 2.7, and they have Python 3, which will be the current, which is 3.3.1 at the time of this video. And currently the system actually already has Python installed. It's the system version, which is which is 2.7. That's kind of entangled with the system, and you really don't want to mess with that too much because it does not do good things for your system unless you want a lot of headaches. Don't mess with this. So we'll be installing Python 3 with Homebrew. That's what our bioinformatics videos will be using. So let's go ahead and get that process started. Python, brew install Python. And let's begin. Alright, there you can see it's already actually starting to install dependencies. And if you're interested in what's going on under the hood while this is downloading, we can see that it's installed to this location here, the package config place. So this is in user local seller, which is where Python does Homebrew does all of its interesting stuff. So if we open this guy up, let's open another terminal so we can work while we're installing things. Put this over here so we can see it. And if I open that location, user local seller, we can actually see the things that are being installed in real time as they're being installed. Usually you go in there and then they have a version number, and then they have all the files that have to do with it. So currently we have this thing installing. So that's in here. This stuff should be installing. Oh, and now we switched over to this guy. So you can see that a lot of this stuff is put in the user local area here. There's also a user local bin, which is where it's going to put all of the programs, as you can see, as all the programs are going to be in here. So our computer has to be able to find these programs. For example, when I type brew, it found the program brew and executed it. Since brew is in this folder, that means the computer knew that in this folder there's stuff that it had to look for. And the way it knows that is with what's called the system path. So if we look at that, we can echo it. Echo $ all caps path. And that will tell us all the different folders separated by colons where the system will look for programs to execute when you type something in order. So this one is looked at first, this one is looked at second. Now notice the place where brew is putting everything is actually at the back of this list, which means that if brew tries to install something that your system already has, for example Emacs, which is in here, version 22 of Emacs is in here, and you install the newest version of Emacs in here, your system will still use version 22 because it's earlier in the path. So if you want your brew stuff to all work perfectly, this should be put at the beginning of the path. And I will show you how to do that momentarily here. We're going to have to sudo, and I tend to use Emacs oftentimes, and we're going to edit this file, etc paths. And sudo gives us permission. Alright, that'll open up this guy. You can see that they are in the order that you saw earlier. So if we go down here in Emacs, you can do Control-K to kill something, which copies it. And let's go do Control-Y up here at the top to yank it back. And there's two white spaces here, so I'm going to get rid of one of them. And now this is first. So let's save, which is hold down Control and hit XS to save, and hold down Control and hit XC to quit. Okay, so now, if we echo path, Oh no, it hasn't fixed. That's simply because it loads that on a new terminal shell. So if we get ourselves a new one and we do it, you can now see that this is first. That means brew stuff is all installed here and will be given priority over any of the system stuff that will be found second. That's good. Okay, so that is how to repair your system path. Well, not repair. It's just not the way it comes by default. This won't really break anything, and it's the way that Brew will recommend that you do things. If, for example, you use Brew to install Emacs and then you do Brew Doctor, it will tell you that this should be first because Emacs has is a conflicting name with something in here. But for the most part, it won't tell you that unless something comes up. It's just good to have it that way to start with. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. Python is installing, so if we go check our folder, in the cellar, you can see that we now have a Python folder. And oh no, did I do that? Yep, I installed 2.7, didn't I? Oh, yep, I installed 2.7. Okay, so Python 3 is called Python 3, literally. It's good to have a separate Python installation anyway on your system, because you don't really want to mess with that system version. It's better to have a Brew installed 2.7 and a Brew installed 3.3. and use those instead of the system version. Okay, so that's going to take a little while longer. Let's go ahead and take a look at... Oh, just a bunch of stuff's already done and done. Okay, cool. So you can see they have a list of things you need to take into consideration. Brew link apps will put programs related to Python in your home directory. Now, since we installed the wrong version, let's go ahead and brew install Python 3. Okay, so now it's going to download that. Hopefully, since lots of the dependencies were already installed for Python, they are the same for Python 3, so it should go more quickly this time. Can see that now if we open a new shell, it has to be a fresh shell for this to work. The stuff has changed. And we do Python version. We now have 2.7.4 instead of 2.7.2 or whatever the system version was, because I swapped the paths on my computer. So the system version, which was in user bin, isn't found because the one in user local bin was found first, which is this one. So if you ever want to use the other one, you can always type it in manually. I don't know why you would want to, but there's 2.7.2 if you really want it. But it's better to use the Brew one, which is here. Okay, and you can see we're building version 3. And if we go check out our folder here, we have a Python 3 folder being created. Okay, now I have resumed 2.7 minutes later, and Python 3 has been downloaded and installed to this location, which we have open, so 3.3.1. Here's all the stuff for Python 3.3.1. All the binaries are here. This is the package manager. So at this point, you're almost done. Everything's been installed properly, unless you saw some errors, which I've actually never seen any errors for anything on Homebrew. It's going to tell you where the framework information is, which isn't something you need most of the time. But if you do need it, you can always just type brew info Python 3, and it will show you this page again, and you can look at all the information about it, where it tells you where everything is. So here's pip3, which is the package manager for Python, which is useful for installing stuff. And it tells you can use it like this, and that they will be installed to the site package directory, which is located here. And any executable scripts will be put in here. Now, an executable script is something that can be run by the system, and as you can see here, we probably want to put it on our path because, as I said previously, the computer only knows how to find things that are on its path. So if we're putting executable things in here, we'll want this to be on our path. So we're going to add that. Let's copy that. Let's go ahead and add that to our path. The standard way of doing that, which is not editing that file I edited before, that was just to swap things that previously existed. That's not a good way to typically add things to your path. We are going to, I will use Emacs again, but you can use any editor to open this file and open something and save to this location in your home directory, and it's .profile. And this will have things that, basically commands that are executed when you open a shell. So when we open a shell, we want to add this to our path. We have that default path always from etc paths. We want to add this one. So we're going to export this, and we're going to call it path, and we're going to set it equal to this stuff here. And then the colon is going to attach it to what the old path was, like this. Okay, so old path is in the variable named path, which is the $, and then we attach it to this stuff, and then we assign that to the path, and then we export it so that everything should be able to see it. And then in Emacs, once more, you hold Control and hit XSXC to save and close. And now if I echo my path, you can see that it's not there yet because, as I said before, it launches, or it executes only when you open a new shell. So if I open a new shell and zoom in a whole bunch of times so you can see it, and now I do the same command, echo path, there it is, user local share Python 3. So now anything that's installed with pip3 will be put in here so the system will be able to find it. Anything that's installed by Homebrew will be put here where you can find it, and then all the things that are default to the system will be located, which is more or less these things here. So that's probably the best order for it to be in at the moment. If this ordering here where you have user local bin is not as important, Homebrew will warn you if it installs a package where it's an issue, and then it will instruct you to swap them or put this one before this one. I just had you do it now because it's just good to have a healthy installation of Homebrew right off the bat instead of running into problems later down the line and having to worry about it then. Okay, so let's close that. Let's look at what else we have here. Okay, we have idle 3 and Python launcher 3. And if we want to add those to our home directory and applications folder, we can run this command. I have no idea why Homebrew thinks that this is a good place to put things. Nothing else goes here, so it doesn't actually exist if you open a new folder. There's nothing like that in my home directory. So if we try that, it'll actually fail. Brew link apps. It will give us a warning, and it will say that this place does not exist. Well, obviously it doesn't exist on any system. So hopefully Homebrew says run this command first. So let's just do that. Now if we go look at the folder here, there is an applications folder. And now we can run brew link apps again. And you can see that since I installed Python 2.7 and 3.1, we have, in my home directory, we have idle for 2.7, idle for 3.3, and then a launcher for 2.7 and a launcher for 3.3, and something that builds applets for 2.7. So these were all programs that were hidden away in that user local seller Python 3 version location. So not very easy to get to them, and now it's a lot easier to get to them. They're in an applications folder, and you could even further, if you wanted to, move these to the actual applications folder and then delete this one. But why? Well, let's do that. I don't like this applications folder here. Okay, so now in here I have Python launcher and idle in my applications folder where I think that they should belong in the first place. Alright, so now let's test out our installation. We have Python, which is the most recent version of Python. Oh wait, no it's not. This is an old shell. So this has the old path. Let's open a new one. Let's see how many times I can open a new shell. Okay, Python version. Should have this version of it. Python 3. We have 3.3.1 installed, and if you really want to use the system version of Python, you can use this location, or this command, and you'll get back to your old 2.7.2, which is not particularly useful. Alright, let's go ahead and clear this off. If we want to run a program, we can simply, let's test in idle 3. Let's open that up. I don't particularly like idle 3. I have no idea how to make this any bigger. Yeah, that doesn't work. Zoom height. That was helpful. Idle 3 is just a default program that edits Python and lets you run it. And actually it's much better on Windows than OS X. It's kind of carbony looking and old and kind of decrepit. So let's open a new window. Let's write ourselves some Python code. Let's go with print, and in Python 3 we have hello world. Let's save that. I'll put it on the desktop as hw.py for hello world. Now it's been saved. You can see it pop up right there. And we will do run module from the run window, and you can see that it executes over here. And you probably couldn't see any of that because it's tiny and idle won't let me zoom. So let's close out of idle, and I'll show you the other way to edit Python. Or not the other way, one of many other ways. I will use Emacs because that's what I use. This is on the desktop, this file I want to look at. So I will change directories to the desktop. And ls is list all the files. Okay, so there's the file. Now I can use Emacs on it, which will edit it. Now you can see the code nice and big. So print hello world, which is just the beginning program that you write in any language. Control X, or Control X, Control C will kill Emacs. And if I want to execute the program, I can do Python 3 hw.py, and that will run the program right there. And now you have a working, this will actually, should also work on Python 2.7 just as well. So you can use either for some of the programs. And now you should have a working version of Python 3.3 and 2.7 installed through Homebrew, and you should have a healthy version of the Homebrew package manager on your system. And that should be all you need to get started with Python.